Hello. I would like to spend a few minutes describing the new platform and format for the LEA self-assessment. This is the platform by which the LEA self-assessment will be submitted for the 2018-19 school year. And based on the usability survey that we conducted last spring, the most common theme in terms of what you would change about the LEA self-assessment was the format. So we found that folks found the Excel file to be burdensome, hard to navigate, and that caused some barriers to efficiently and effectively using the tool for planning effective implementation planning. So we're hopeful that this is going to be a lot more user-friendly on the front end. In addition, we know that it's going to be much easier to collect the data, aggregate the data, and analyze the data on the back end using this platform as well. So, as we mentioned, this will be the way that the tool is submitted for 2018-19. The submission date is currently in the process of being finalized. That will be communicated very soon, but it will be late spring, early summer when this will be required for submission. So you can see the platform looks quite different. Instead of Excel, the platform this year will be called Qualtrics. You can see that there is navigation of this platform on the bottom in the form of arrows pointing in forward and back directions. So you will be able to navigate in both directions on this tool at any point in time. In addition, you can start and stop within this platform. If you were to close out this browser, this is all a browser-based platform. If you were to close this out, put the link in, the link to access this, you will begin exactly where you stopped off at the prior time. So you will have the ability to work on this for a little bit, take a break, go away from it, and come back and be at the same spot. You'll see that the landing page, the front page of this tool looks very similar to the way that it did in the Excel file. There are links that you can access. These links take you to different resources and tools that help you complete the tool and engage in the process effectively. So you'll see that there are links to the guidance manual, various videos for how you can access the various data sources that you need to respond to the items within the LEA self-assessment, as well as professional learning resources that support the process itself. So the data collection, the data aggregation, data analysis, and then the systematic problem solving that can occur with those data at hand, as well as just some frequently asked questions about the process and the tool itself. So all of those are hyperlinks, and you can access those directly from this platform. You will see that the first couple items are just for you to identify your LEA. So you can select the region that your district or charter school is in. Once you do that, some logic is built into it, so only the districts and charter schools that fall within that region are displayed, and then you will move forward accordingly. If you recall from the LEA self-assessment, the first two core elements surround policy compliance and monitoring and fiscal management. We have several different ways by which we can collect data on these areas, and these two on the tool itself are simply narrative responses that are required. So you can see that on the platform, you will have each of the critical components for this core element are listed along the left-hand side here, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. And then it is just a narrative summary of any changes to policies, to local practices that support this core element would be described within these text fields here. If you would rather type within Microsoft Word or a Google document, you can do that. This platform does support copy and paste, so you could simply copy those and then paste them over into these text fields. So just like in the previous iteration in the Excel file for core element 1 and 2, it's simply just providing a written narrative response to each of these critical components. You can see that that is the same for core element 2, fiscal management. Where we have a bit of a change is once we get into the practice profile component of the LEA self-assessment. This was its own tab on the Excel file. Now we have each core element is listed as separately as a page within the Qualtrics platform. This is the part of the tool itself that you make a quantitative rating on based on your review and analysis of the appropriate data sources. Just as a reminder, all of the data sources that are aligned to each core element and to each item that can help you and support you in determining your ratings, those connections are all made available within the guidance manual. So to work within the context of this platform, you can see each of the critical components is listed, and then the rubrics and the corresponding score are listed directly underneath each of these critical components. So you can see critical component 3.1, data indicate that students with IEPs are making progress towards grade level standards in the general curriculum. You can select, based what your data reflect, at least 80% of students, between 50 and 79% or fewer than 50. To make that rating, you simply just click on the appropriate one of these boxes, and that will be highlighted, and that will record your rating. In the past, you've also had an opportunity to provide the documentation that has allowed you to make that rating, or that has informed you as you've made that rating, as well as any additional comments that would be helpful for you to include with this quantitative rating. So you will see that in each of the core elements, this process will be the same. The critical component is listed, and then you can simply select on the rubric score that corresponds to your data. And each one has documentation and comments section. In the past, people have also linked to various artifacts, various data sources that they've had available to them. You can still feel free to do that. You can provide a hyperlink or a link directly within the documentation and comments section. This also supports document upload. So if you do wish to upload any artifacts to be submitted along with this tool, you can simply do that here. You can drag a file there or click on it to browse and upload. That's not a required component of this submission, but if it is something that you think better reflects, better supports your rating, as well as better helps you plan for improvement, please feel free to include that documentation there. So as we work through each of the core elements 4, 5, and 6, again, responding to each critical component by making the quantitative rating, that process will be the same throughout this tool. Notice that if I am working through this process with a team, we have been responding to an item and has caused pause or reflection about how we rated a previous item. We can always move back and forward within this tool. So I can go back to core element 3, move forward to core element 4. So navigating this should be pretty simple and user-friendly. You will notice across the top, there is a progress bar across the top that goes from 0 to 100%. So you can see that I'm somewhere around 40% complete at this point in time. Moving on to core elements 5 and 6, the same process would take place in terms of how to submit your data. I'm working through this quickly just so you can see the next step of the tool. The next step of the tool is priority identification. So we ask that you identify your priorities for a number of purposes. One, for implementation planning, it's very clear that we must focus on 1 or 2 primary things that we hope to change over the course of several years. That if we select too many things to try to impact, too many things to try to change, we often find that we go past our capacity and go past our resources, and we aren't particularly effective with any of those. So we ask that there is some prioritization that occurs that based on what you find within your data, based on what the aggregation and analysis of those data look like within the LEA self-assessment, that you identify one or two key priorities that are going to be the focus of your implementation plan for the next year. The reason that those data are particularly important for us is because we use those data to then design and provide professional learning for the following year. So based on what you as LEAs decide are priorities, that's what sets our priorities for supports and our priorities for the provision of professional learning the following year. So what we ask that you do here is first is you provide a narrative description of what your priority is. That should, we have within our training, we talk quite extensively about how to define those priorities, how to ensure that they are precise, including what you want to change, where it is going to be changed, how it's going to be done, where it's going to take place. We also ask that you describe whether this is a priority that is primarily focused on academics, on behavior, or transition, and then which of the critical or core elements that priority is most aligned to. And we do ask that you identify these priorities based on your responses here. It will ask you, is there any professional learning that's offered by the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction Exceptional Children Division that would support your priorities? If you select yes here, you can then respond to which of those professional learning activities seem to be most aligned. This drop down here is going to be populated based on which core element you select here. So we have done an inventory of all the professional learning that we offer as an Exceptional Children's Division at DPI. We have organized those based on our critical components. So based on the critical component that you select here, that will determine what professional learning is selected here. And it is populated here. So it really is critical that you think carefully about this. We use these data, we use the frequency by which this professional learning is selected within these LEA self-assessments. We look and analyze the themes of the priorities that are identified, and that is really what informs how we provide and what we provide professional learning on the following year. So based on what you prioritize here, you would then select a professional learning. After that is the stakeholders. You would simply name the stakeholders that fit each of these roles and submit that as well. Once you have completed your submission, what you will find is that it will provide a summary of all of your responses. And then what you can also do is download this to a PDF document. So once you download that, you will have a saved copy of that PDF that should become available to you. And then you can save this, and you will have an electronic copy of your LEA self-assessment that was submitted. So we hope that this platform is going to be more user-friendly, easier, more efficient environment to work within. If you have any questions about the platform itself, please do not hesitate to ask. And we will be more than happy to answer any of those questions. In addition, when we send out the link to complete this tool, you will also receive prior year's data. So you will receive the file that was submitted last year so that you can use that for trend analysis, and you can use that to inform your decision making on the current form. So unfortunately, this platform does not have the capability of incorporating historical data within it. So we will send that data along specifically individually to you so that you will have access to it as you complete this year's tool. So thanks for your time and reviewing the new format and platform. Again, we hope that it's going to be an easier and more efficient platform for you this year.